Okay, in this video I'm just going to go over the different things that I have planned for Lemuria Technologies in implementing a well-rounded plan for increasing sales and unifying the sales process for your business. One of the things that you thought was important to you was to make sure that your entire sales process was congruent, no matter who is selling your product, and kind of actually creating one pay scale or bringing down the overall compensation for one party or another, so that there's more of a consistent way of paying out your sales commissions. Which after kind of thinking about how your sales staff are actually set up, I think that anybody who demonstrates your product for you is actually providing a great value add in the sales process. So 30% actually seems pretty reasonable for anybody who wants to demonstrate the system, and anybody who is not essentially should not be compensated at the 30% mark. Now, if somebody is to sell somebody who will then be providing demonstrations, well, then they should be compensated for that as well. But if it's just sales to the direct consumer, then ultimately the payout and commission for that should be less. And I'm not quite sure exactly if you're looking to sell direct to consumer. It seems like selling through distributors is going to be more effective for you in the long term here, and that's what I'd like to set up for you. So and ultimately, selling direct to consumer, we want to actually have your website be the driver of sales, and have sales guys run inbound leads versus having sales guys waste their time with individual consumers, when the website is actually the best sales tool for that. So and ultimately, we want our salespeople and our affiliates to drive traffic at our website, being a sales tool, so that we can build authority of that website and be rewarded for that via traffic generation through Google. Google will notice that our website actually serves their searchers better than the other competing websites, and use us as a beacon for information, and ultimately that traffic will pay off very handsomely for the business over the short and long term. Now, I've seen good results from if you can bring down your bounce rate of your website and bring up time on site alone, and get bounce back to the search engines for different search terms very, very low, Google will rank your website very quickly, and and progressively for different keywords, as Google's kind of experimenting with your website and seeing how the users they are sending you are responding to it. So with that said, I would like to go through a system to generate leads for end consumers that are interested in the product, that your sales guys could run with. Maybe generate a 20% commission on those, and in the off time actually try to sell business to business instead of those distributors, and get maybe a 30% commission on that, so that eventually we're going to have just distributors using our website as a sales tool, and then becoming that authority in the marketplace. Now, when the distributors are actually set up on your website, already you have a section of your website that actually shows where you can find your distributor, and I think you're underutilizing that feature of your website. Ideally, what you're going to want, and this is a client that I worked for at one point in time, to kind of plan a marketing strategy, and even though they aren't doing what I would like you to do, and they actually implemented a strategy I didn't really approve of, but they kind of got the basic idea down here. This is actually a concrete leveling company, but in any case, they're a franchise, and if you go to their website, ultimately you're going to want to deal with someone local, so you get the authority play, the branding play. When you go to the website, it's big, it's trusted. If you were going to check out this company, you would then trust it. Or if you were just trying to find a good location to go to actually get the service done, then you would go ahead and click on nationwide locations and find a site map here with all the different locations. The thing that I wanted to mention was that for our distributors, instead of simply asking our distributors to market their own websites as to get the 30% commission, we can go ahead and help them out a little bit. Yes, it costs a little bit of money to dry traffic at this part of our website, but it's well worth it as far as generating some quick sales revenue. What we would actually do is, for instance, anytime someone in Overland Park, let's say we had a distributor there, actually types in Google PEMF technology or systems or related keyword, then there's going to be an ad that says something like PEMF and then the city. So I live in Omaha here, and here's an example here, but it'd be very specifically targeted. PEMF system device dealer here in Omaha. So people that are looking for this information, maybe they are in the informational stages of the purchase, trying to do the investigation into the technology, that's fine. But we get the branding play, and then ultimately, if they're ready to make a purchase, which some will that are searching for this, then right away they're going to be able to click on that and then end up on a page where we can generate a lead for them. And in this way, it's not very competitive. We're just going to have this ad show up for people within, let's say, 30-mile radius of the Omaha or the Overland Park, so that we're not competing with the national companies. It's just a quick, easy way to generate leads. And actually creating a brand that people are going to want to trust, and after doing research into PEMF technology, wanting to go with you versus what our other competitors are offering, we're going to need to use our website as the tool to actually establish our brand, since ultimately all the information they're going to get about PEMF is online, and through a number of different branding ploys, we're going to essentially seem like the leader. Whether or not we have the best product or not, that's irrelevant to the consumer who doesn't have a lot of background in this particular subject. So to do that, we're going to want to redesign our website a little bit, and creating a good website that converts visitors and gets people to want to do business with you is definitely not easy or inexpensive. I mean, it's an investment in your company. It should be the largest investment that you have, but will pay many great dividends for your company when it is set up correctly. I've seen good websites. I've seen bad websites perform in terms of lead generation, and a good quality website is going to perform much better than a poor quality website. So there is no question as to whether or not you want to invest in a good website. And the very first thing that we're going to want to improve is, even though the concept or logo is good, it doesn't quite instill enough trust, I don't feel, and we could just get a designer to make this a little bit more detailed and authoritative, because that's the first thing people look at when they get to a website, and that needs to be perfect in terms of generating an authoritative thought process. And then, secondly, the whole homepage here needs to be kind of improved overall. I mean, what you have is not bad. However, it's ultimately, this guy here, this Dr. Public, he seems somewhat of the industry leader, in selling equipment or just being knowledgeable in the subject. But his website, it's actually designed fairly well, and it looks pretty trustworthy. There's a picture of someone that's real here that puts realism to the company, and it makes you put trust and stock in that company. Although this website's not that great, I'm sure that, I know that we can do better. But this guy clearly, I can tell, does a good job, and because of his website. And then from there, one thing that this Dr. Pollock does do wrong, or stop short of, is actually generate landing pages for the different ailments. He go ahead and he set up different products here that you can purchase. However, all this technical information is irrelevant to the consumer. They have no idea. Maybe some consumers do have the sophistication and have gotten the research necessary to understand some of this stuff, but as a basis to make a purchase on, really doesn't provide a lot of utility for users. So we want to actually do away with this type of style of funnel or landing page for the consumer, and actually generate a page for each ailment, whether it's fibromyalgia or what have you. We want an individual who's looking for information about their specific ailment to get information on that, and ultimately just position one product, not 15, which adds a lot of unneeded thought in the sales process for that consumer. And go ahead and generate the lead through a lead gen form or a phone number, which would then go to one of our sales guys. As far as lead generation page design goes, or landing page design goes, I mean, to find a good designer that can do it well is very, very expensive. This is one example of a designer that does do a good job. This I can't quite pronounce her name, Elkaternia, but she's a U.S.-based designer. I've talked to her before, but if you go and look at her profile and see some of the examples of landing pages that she's done, I mean, she gets the whole marketing psychology, which is very important, the trust indicators and the spacing and the positioning and the elements that need to be on these pages to generate a conversion. And I will say that the difference between having a well-designed landing page and one that's not well-designed could be the difference between 2 or even 3 times as many leads per click. And when you're talking about spending money on marketing to drive traffic at a website, if you don't have your landing page right, you're going to fail basically before you get started, unless you have just a remarkable product with no competition. I feel that we're almost there, but with the right landing pages, we're going to be able to start paying to drive traffic, targeted traffic at the site, and then immediately capitalize from that with the correct style of landing page. And we wouldn't have to necessarily create a landing page for each type of element. However, we could generate one basic type of design that converts well for one particular element, and then kind of switch up the terminology, and then just maybe put 1 or 2 different little images on there. We'd have a landing page for each specific element. For the user who lands on the page, they think that they found a very unique product, whereas it's a generic product that's geared for a different type of lead. And for that, we can segment our different leads so that our sales guys can just target, again, as I was saying on the phone yesterday, fibromyalgia leads, and know specifically what are the questions these customers ask, and know how to close them. Knowing how to close that particular lead is going to result, again, in a higher conversion rate. So our lead conversion rate will be optimized as good as possible, and then the sales conversion rate will be optimized as good as possible in that manner. On this landing page, we're going to want things like that video of Dr. Oz that you have on your website currently. That's a really good trust indicator. References to other healthcare professionals using the product, links to independent research for the very specific elements. If it's fibromyalgia, we'll link to an actual independent study so people can have verification of the claims being made. And then, of course, testimonials on these pages as well. The testimonials don't necessarily have to be unique because, frankly, people don't watch those videos. However, the picture, for example, of the testimonial is everything. Then maybe 2 or 3% of the traffic actually clicks on the video. And it would be better if you had a customized testimonial, but we got so much of a boost in conversion just by people seeing that video that's really all we need. So right away we could get that element on the landing page that we need. And then the next thing is the CRM. So I know you're trying to get Salesforce integration going, getting your sales guys and your affiliates to use Salesforce, or maybe just your sales guys. Then we'll identify the things that need to be going on the CRM in order to organize the information correctly, and then train our sales guys. We want to set the CRM up to be as good as possible for the sales guys so they actually want to use it. I mean, sales guys that don't utilize the CRM will essentially make the system fail before it starts. So by using proper planning and using a professional system integrator for Salesforce, which is really necessary due to the complexity of that CRM, we can actually make it efficient and useful for the sales guys, and then once they see the value, they'll be able to utilize that. And then that information is going to be available for you, the owner of the company, to see a snapshot of what is the revenue potential for that week or that month via the sales pipeline. And then the closing rates will be better for your sales guys after a lead is actually generated, so we know we're following up on time when we're supposed to be following up. you can actually see, I mentioned Patio as one CRM that we use at Marcus UAV, the UAV manufacturer that I also do commission-based sales and marketing for. And we actually have it set up so that we have a separate application for inbound and outbound leads, depending on the sales process is a little different for each. And then, of course, for the different market segments that we have, we'll set up things a little bit different for each one. But just to give you an example of, ultimately what you're looking at with the CRM, I mean, you have different aspects or parts of the CRM. So we have our leads here, which will list every lead. As a lead comes in, we'll train our sales guys to right away put this information in there. There's actually a way to make sure that web forms on your website actually generate a record in your CRM, so that sales guys don't have to be proactive and actually enter that information before, and then it seals cracks in your information systems. You can actually create a status for that lead, what country they're from, and you can customize these fields as necessary. So we'll keep everything organized, and you can actually organize the different fields. So if, let's say we want to just contact this morning first thing guys that were already quoted, for instance, we can go ahead and do that, and from there we can go ahead and click through and see for that particular client what their contact information is and what stage in the sale they are, and if we need to look at the quote, we got that attached here, and just different things. We can customize all of these different fields, leave notes. If we had communication with that particular customer, that would be logged each time the sales guy has made contact by phone or email. Within Salesforce, you can actually log all email correspondence within Salesforce, so that there's no need to actually log email correspondence. It's just there. And you can also assign tasks to other salespeople, or assign tasks to yourself. If we get to the secretary and she says call back at 5 o'clock tomorrow, because that's when the doctor is going to be available, then we'll go ahead and assign ourselves a task, and then ultimately we can each day go in and not only just know kind of what we want to follow up on, but we'll have our list of tasks here. And these tasks, when they're overdue, because we can set a date or time, turn red, so we can stay on top of things. And again, you need to contact these individual leads regularly to make sure that you can get a hold of them. Sometimes it might take 10 phone calls to get a hold of a prospect. And then, because these people are, business to business sales, executives, doctors, they're busy, and that's a lot of times what it takes. And with a systematic approach, by a, logging of communication, we can see, how many times we followed up, so we know if we need to follow up more, or at what time is going to be ideal based upon the clues the secretary may have left us. So we're going to go ahead and have a system set up that makes it ideal, or increases our chances of conversion for each individual lead, based upon monitoring our failures and successes that we have had in the sales process. And then the next thing I want to go into is just talk a little bit about the sales guys that we have. I know you said that a lot of them do cold calling. They call about 100 people a day. Mainly chiropractors or sports medicine individuals now, somewhat. We can go ahead and experiment with targeted lists, and just find lists of chiropractors. We can get a list of every chiropractor practice and the lead doctor's name at that practice in the USA, for instance. And excuse me. We can go ahead and import those chiropractors into the CRM in bulk. So if I generate a list of, let's say, 2,000 contractors, well, I can import all 2,000 leads, and then ultimately assign maybe 100 different leads to a particular sales guy, and then he can go ahead and call each one, log the correspondence, mark it as not interested if they're not interested, mark it as somewhat interested if they're somewhat interested, and so forth, and just basically go through the whole sales process, and we can monitor to see what our conversion rate is, and monitor and make our adjustments as necessary. So I really would recommend, I guess, doing it that way. That way your sales guys are spending more time in the sales conversations instead of in the discovery process. It's worth it at $1 a record. I think it's generally worth it to do that. Then ultimately, you had indicated you were sending a video to the chiropractor by email, and things were falling apart. Well, that video definitely, well, first of all, I would like to look at the video and see how well it sells the prospect, or what the quality of that video is. At the end of the day, that video needs to do one thing. It needs to explain to the chiropractor how much money it can make the practice. Yes, a lot of doctors do want to cure people, but I think that's pretty much secondary as to the what is this going to do for their business. Ultimately, they run a business. That's what they want to know. What are the margins on the product? What is the desire for that particular technology? What is it we're going to help them do to make sales via PPC, localized marketing, or what have you, to help them, aid them in their process of sales. And look, at our website, based upon our website, we have all these resources, blah blah blah, whatever it is. Just and keeping it brief. Within 60 seconds, they should have the information necessary to understand why that product's going to make them money. And then, for the salespeople, we need to make sure they're using the CRM, obviously, to refine our sales process. And then if a sales guy is gone, another sales guy can pick up the callbacks and have that information available to them. In marketing, there's the number 7 that's used a lot, which is the number of touches you usually need to have with a particular client, whether it's B2B or B2C, before a sale can be made. Using the CRM, we can log each touch that we have with the client. So if the initial touch is a phone call, maybe we'll have a second touch with an email. A third touch might be a direct mailer that we send the customer, and so on and so forth. We can log all these touches so that we know, ultimately, if we get to 10 touches, nothing's happened, we're about to give up because the return on investment on that particular lead is not there. But we won't know how many touches we have unless, on a mass scale, and we're calling lots of people, unless we have some sort of log system for that. So that's my job, to make sure everything goes correctly in that department. And then for hiring sales guys, I can find commission-based sales guys. I don't know how you do it, but there are some services out there that are specifically geared for finding commission-based salespeople. We can create an ad that we send out to these places where these guys are looking for work, and then ultimately I can interview them and make sure their experience is real, and via just a series of questions, asking them, basically make them sell me at the end of the day. And if they can't sell me, well, they can't sell a customer. And then we need a sales manager. I don't know if that would be me or somebody else. I'm not the sales expert by any means. I'm adequate at sales. I'm mainly a marketing guy. But having one sales manager available so that new trainees for our independent sales reps, so they can have a virtual ride-along and listen in on calls that the sales manager does to kind of teach the new sales guys the selling points of the product, and so they can become familiar of how to sell that product, and then provide them brochures and other materials so that they can, and the videos and stuff, rich sales material. So most of the technical selling of the product is done already for them. They just need to make the contact and really make that and listen to the customer and find out what it is that's is their pain, and so the sales process is less complicated, and that'll work out for everybody. Then as far as PPC advertising, I see you do Google pay-per-click advertising. You aren't bidding real high to where you're in the top 3, and that may be because you're not getting a good return on your pay-per-click advertising. But I can say it, with a better website, we can bid so that we are in the top 3 for mostly every keyword that we would want to actually bid on, and has potential for return. So right away, when you build a good website, leveraging PPC, the investment you make in the website is going to pay off real quickly. If you have just a small PPC budget to work with, you're going to get return fairly quickly. The sales cycle is going to be a little bit longer on an expensive product like yours, but within a couple months, I would think you're going to be able to have return from the initial spend. We're going to want to go ahead and investigate what keywords are going to actually convert and test those different keywords by looking at competitors' websites and some other tools, and using the keyword tool by Google or what they provide. And we're actually going to monitor the success of the PPC keywords that we're testing via Google Analytics. If you haven't had that set up yet, I'll go ahead and set that up, and then further with that, we'll set up goal tracking to monitor how many actual form fills or phone calls you're getting with your Google Analytics, so that we can see, ultimately what is the conversion rate per click from Google PPC, or what is the conversion rate from different forms of traffic, so we can see our return on investment down to the dollar amount. Kind of finding out what the margin is on your product and know what we want to spend to generate a lead. I can ultimately just keep testing things until we maximize our lead volume based upon dollar amount and not exceeding that dollar amount. And we can track phone calls through call tracking technology. If you don't utilize that, it's fairly simple to do and inexpensive to do. So we can fully analyze the return on investment there. And then, ultimately, past Google search advertising. I don't know if you experimented with display network advertising, but when people search for things like MF technology, fibromyalgia treatment, and they find information on Google regarding a study or what have you, trying to explain to people that this stuff is good stuff indeed for treating fibromyalgia. Having an ad that's on this web page here related to your product will probably convert well. How well, I'm not sure, but tying back this information to the conversion analysis that we can do through Google Analytics, we can maximize our lead generation opportunities. You can see what works and just try different ads in different websites, and maybe this website doesn't work, but maybe another one will. And going along with the landing page generation that we did on the website, the time we spent to actually create a great landing page, well, these ads will really pay off when we have a way to convert leads at a high rate. And then, from there, if you don't utilize remarketing yet through the Google AdWords program, you can do remarketing so that anybody who's visited the website will actually get remarketed to aggressively or semi-aggressively via the same mechanism. You're going to have ads for your company or your product show up here on other websites they visited on the internet. Back to the power of sevens with marketing. 2 or 3 or 4 of the touches out of the 7 they need to make a purchase may be them seeing our ad on some sort of informational website or just any other. Maybe they are going to a news website just for entertainment purposes. They'll see the ad. Psychologically, they may not be interested, but they'll see it out of their peripheral view, and that touch will be there. Or sometimes they will click, and then those clicks generally convert at twice the rate as a normal, or 3 times the rate as a normal display network ad click. And ultimately, what you really want with that remarketing is, people that are still in the informational stages of a purchase, they'll end up on a page like this that they'll type in pulse electromagnetic fields in Google just generically and reading information about it, and then your remarketing ad shows up here. So they get to our website, then they go back to Google because they're somewhat still skeptical about how it works or what have you, and then again they see your ad. So maybe some people will right away say, okay, I'm ready to move on this, and then your ad is just so easy to click on at that point. So and that'll happen a lot. And then via social media, your initial ad was that you were trying to find a social media rep. We can easily go ahead and each day assign someone, whether it's myself, or somebody else, just an hour or so a day. Social media is really all you need to kind of keep up with. A more extensive job can be done with social media, but it's not real cost effective. I will say, compared to other marketing methods, what you're going to want to do, for instance, for Marcus UAV, all I do each day is type in UAV in this search up here, and ultimately I find people who are talking about UAVs, and then you can reply to different people, and then just make, social media is not about talking, it's about listening. So you listen to what other people have to say, and you compliment them or make a comment based upon what they said, and a lot of times they'll retweet what you said, or they'll favorite what you said, or they'll follow you. Each day, just by this methodology, I can get a couple or three more people follow me a day if I do it aggressively for several different keywords. And if somebody writes an article and they're sharing it via social media, which they normally will do, or they will do a lot of times, then we'll go ahead and follow that. And then if it's a blog with comments on it, alternatively, I'll just go ahead and comment on that blog with the branding right there, so that we actually set ourselves up to be seen as the most prominent brand in the industry. They've seen our name on a blog, they've seen our ad on a blog related to that particular subject of PEMF technology. They saw a mention on Twitter, so they saw other brands or people with a particular problem engage with our brand. And they found us on Google, and they saw that we have a dealer to them. So just using a multifaceted marketing approach, we're going to essentially actually have more channels of marketing, and we're going to beat the competitors out by default that way, because it really is about people wanting to buy the most credible product. When it becomes, given the price of the product, there's going to be a lot of research being done, and they're going to want to feel comfortable. They're only going to feel comfortable going with what seems like the most credible product. So we have to integrate all these different strategies, and it's really simple for us to do this. We just need to go ahead and each day, spend a little time on social media and monitor our pay-per-click and make sure we're getting return there, so that we're able to get in many more areas of the web. So people do their research, they can find us and so forth, and that'll really pay off for us. And in doing all of these different things, it will generate lots of leads for our sales guys, and the sales guys will get like us, because they're working inbound leads versus outbound leads, and they're actually, even though they're getting 20% on their revenue, they're actually generating 3 times as many sales, because the people who contact us already think we're the biggest and the baddest company out there for that particular product, and really isn't a lot of sales there. I mean, now they're going to have a lot easier time closing those leads, obviously. And then Google Alerts is one other way, just in addition to social media, that we can find blogs and forums and people on Facebook and people on Instagram and what have you that are talking about PEMF technology. We can go ahead in real time, as the updates come via people with articles, comments, or what have you, go ahead and comment. And we're going to do that for an hour or two a day, and over time we're really going to build up a list of followers and just people who are aware of our brand. The very last thing I want to talk about is reviews. And you guys already do a pretty good job with your reviews already. I really would just like to see the PEMF 4000 and each other product that you offer. When you type in PEMF 4000 reviews in Google here, that there's a good review or 2 good reviews here, because that's the last thing people do before they purchase. So I see you already did it for the PEMF 4000. You need to do it for other products if you haven't already, or new products that are being released. So really, that's really about it. If you have any questions, let me know.